once again, back once again, back once again, back once again, back once again with a beat. Let the bass kick.
I'm Scott with the Wisdom in All Things podcast, where we look at applying wisdom to life in 3 areas: mind, body, and soul, which is pretty much everywhere, where it should be. On today's episode, how about setting a New Year's vision? Brett McKay from The Art of Manliness says, "Well, I've long been a fan of goal setting. My ardor for it has cooled a bit. I've come to think that focusing too much on goals can actually get in the way of living a truly flourishing life." So how are those goals working for you? Are you going to do it again this year? Set some goals, see what happens? In and of themselves, goals are wonderfully appropriate. But my list of New Year's resolutions often look like a bunch of strangers threw in a couple of ideas each in an attempt to solve like everything. Mark Sanborn says, "There are problems with goals," and suggesting that is heresy to many. Goal setting has been such an important concept in the vernacular of success that some have come to view it as sacred. While it is important and necessary that we intend for certain things to happen, even a brief reflection on some of the questions raised about goal setting could be enough to keep us from being sucked into the whirlwind of setting some wild, hairy, bodacious, ultra-supersonic goals, or whatever the current goal-setting buzzword is this year. Here are some questions. Are your goals guiding you or controlling you? It's the difference between being goal-oriented and goal-obsessed. Secondly, what is your motivation to set or pursue the goal? Guilt? Someone told you to? Everyone is doing it? Thirdly, what will happen if you set the goal too high or too low? These and other thoughtful questions have been raised about goal setting that might not only temper our rush to bang out a list in time for the new year, but help us see beyond the list to the better pursuit of setting a vision for the new year. What would the next year look like if we were to adopt a vision instead? Here's some of the drawbacks first of goals before we talk about vision. What is it about goal setting that should give us concern? In his article for Psychology Today, Ray Williams cites some of the behavioral implications of cranking up the intensity around goal setting. He says this: "First, we place unintended stress on those around us. It can blind us," he says, "to important issues that appear unrelated to our goal. Thirdly, there's an overemphasis on short-term thinking. Fourth, we will sometimes adopt riskier decision-making. Fifth, it can promote cheating. And finally, he says, it can create an unnecessary culture of competition." In the previous quote from Brett that I mentioned, he says that goals can actually get in the way of living a truly flourishing life, further supporting the caution we should have when setting goals. He identifies that goals can lack a deeper meaning. They cause self-defeating single-mindedness sometimes, and also lead to depression and angst. However, it is not that we should avoid goals altogether, but instead set and implement them carefully. I believe that goals are more suited to guide our activity toward being purposeful. What is the purpose that would allow goals to fulfill their proper role? A vision. Let's focus on the significance of having a vision. In his article, Vision Over Goals, Brett McKay talked with Dr. Jeff Spencer. He's a former Olympian and current coach to world-class athletes who saw firsthand the great letdown medal winners experienced after returning home from the Olympics. While there was an overwhelming sense of, now what do I do, for most athletes, others were able to continue on. The difference? Those able to continue on had a vision for their entire lives. McKay then identifies those advantages that a vision has over goals. He says, first, a vision provides purpose and significance. Goals can't tell you why you're doing something, they just tell you what to do. If you've been achieving a goal after goal in your life, but simply feel empty, it's likely because you've set these goals to be an ends in and of themselves. Secondly, he says, a vision provides room for adaptability. A vision provides an overarching ideal, an aim for life, but then allows for pivoting to different paths. And thirdly, a vision provides long-term vitality. You don't complete a vision. It provides an ideal to keep aiming at for even when you've completed a goal. And then you avoid the now what syndrome mentioned by Dr. Spencer regarding Olympic athletes. You know, we can see these last 2 points borne out, for instance, in what Paul says in Romans 8:29. He says, "For those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed into the image of his Son." Talk about a vision. This isn't a goal to be reached or even a pursuit, but more of a path to be walked. It's a journey with a specified direction. However, what that path looks like can be very different from the path others take. and far different than what we would have planned for ourselves. This highlights a military principle that might be helpful to keep in mind as we understand our pursuing a vision for our lives. The details may be unique to your path, but the destination and direction is based on the overarching commander's intent. Chad Storley describes commander's intent this way. He says it's the description and definition of what a successful mission will look like. It fully recognizes the chaos, lack of complete picture, changes in enemy situation, and other relevant factors that may make a plan either completely or partially obsolete when it's executed. He says the role of commander's intent is to empower subordinates and guide their initiative and improvisation as they adapt the plan to the changing battlefield environment. With life sometimes feeling a little bit like a battlefield, all the more reason we depend on God as commander and His vision, intent for our lives. He brings definition and direction and confidence in the chaos. I'll leave you with this question. How might next year look if we set goals that give purpose to our activity toward fulfilling the commander's intent? This is the Wisdom in All Things podcast, a journey that is designed to help you integrate wisdom into all areas of your life. Listen to more podcasts, read other articles, those kinds of things about wisdom at wisdominallthings.com.